A few months ago, I made a video about my fears of marrying again after having been widowed. So I talked about my fears and the truth behind why I may never marry again. So your reactions were varied as follows. Beyond daily life, you said sending hugs. I saw my mom struggle with us. It's not easy, but do what is right in the eyes of God and keep your conscience clear before God. Just keep yourself pure and live for the glory of God. Love you, new sub 2. Wow, that was a very beautiful comment. Thank you so much, Beyond Daily Life. Living life through the eyes of SA, you said, to some people, my queen, being single is seen as something else more special in our Black society. You are seen as not being full. That's the reason people jump into wrong marriages, because of the pressure. Love the fact that you've stated of open-mindedness. We have to make decisions sober without pressure. Love your strength. Wish all of us can have it. Thank you so much. That was very profound, very wise comment there. Thank you so much. Living life through the eyes of SA. Tatenda said, your story is so emotional. Sorry for losing a husband at a tender age. I think you must do what your heart says when it comes to remarry. Stay strong and take care of your kids. God bless. Thank you so much. Another beautiful comment from Tatenda. Safe Haven Wellness 24, you said some strong views there. I personally believe in second chances or a second chance. Thank you so much for your opinion. So today I decided to come to you, my single ladies, my single mothers, whether you are widowed, whether you are never married, whether you are divorced or separated. I decided to come to you with a word in this devotional, because it's always good to keep encouraging each other in this walk also, even as we parent our children as single women. It is very important for us to keep empowering ourselves. So I created 5 questions that we should ask ourselves. I felt in my spirit that we need to keep asking ourselves this question. So today we are focusing on dating and new beginnings. Dating and new beginnings, and the 5 questions to ask yourself are as follows. First question. The Bible talks about a new season, but how do I know if it's a new season for me to date or just another season of singleness? Well, that's a good question. How do you know whether it's another season of singleness? Now, so I would say, have you been looking for marriage? Are you desiring marriage in the first place? That's the question to ask yourself. Is this something that God has placed in your heart that you desire? Remember, there are many people who are okay without it, without dating or without marriage. So if it is something you deeply desire, I think it is all in your hands, and that you should put in place the right action. Stop waiting for that cosmic event where God drops Mr. Right on your lap. That will not happen. So if you have a deep desire in your heart, you have to be proactive. You have to get out there, seek, join the right platforms, etc. So if you want it to be a season for singleness, it will be. If you want it to be a season for dating, it will be. So what you should be focusing more on is looking for the right person, not whether it's the season. It will be a season if you have that deep desire in you and you're taking the appropriate action. Second question, how do I balance my role as a mother with the vulnerability of dating? How have I explained this new journey to my kids? Okay, the issue there of balance in anything, whether you are a mother, you are a working mother, whether you are dating or not, balance is a very critical word to talk about, because sometimes you feel as though it doesn't exist. So you have to if you have that desire, as we said in the first question, then you have to implement it. Now, as you implement it, I don't support where women introduce their kids to many people at the earliest opportunity. No. I prefer if you take some time, if you're dating, that's your private affair. And if you feel that this is the one or it's leading somewhere and it's becoming serious, that's the time you should involve your kids in it. Otherwise, you can introduce many people to your kids with something that is never solid. So I prefer that you take your time and really be mature about it and involve your kids only when you are 100% sure that this is going to lead to a permanence or to marriage. That's the question 3. What's the biggest difference between dating in my 20s and dating as a widowed 36-year-old single mom? Of course, now I'm 40 years old. Well, there is a very huge difference. Now, in your 20s, you think that marriage is the answer to everything. However, now that I'm more mature, I know that marriage is just one element in your life. Like, marriage will not answer all your life's problems. Only one person can answer that. It's Jesus Christ. He's the one we need completely. Marriage is optional. So that's what I would say. That when one is older, you feel as if the emphasis there placed on marriage is not as serious as when you're in your 20s. So that's what I would say. The 4th question. What are my deal breakers when it comes to a potential partner, and how have my Christian values and life experiences shaped them? So what are the deal breakers when it comes to potential partner? Okay, that's a good question. So number 1, a deal breaker for me is a person who's godless, a person who doesn't reverence God, especially in the Christian context. In the Christian context, you must be a believer of God, you must be a worshiper of God as well. Also, there are people who pretend to be godly, but they are not. So that's also a deal breaker. So another deal breaker is people who feel as if they have a savior complex, as if you're with them so that they can save you. It could be financially. They could have emotional abuse just because you're a single mother. They make you believe that you will not find anybody else, that you need them. And of course, those are narcissistic tendencies. So you don't want to date abusers. You don't want to date people who have a savior complex because of money. Those are deal breakers. You want to avoid people who use also things against you. You have to go back to the basics, even when you're dating, when you're older, because people can hide very well. There are so many deal breakers for others. Please let me know in the comments, what are your deal breakers and what would you not take? What would you tolerate and what would you not put up with? It is good for us to share so that we can learn from each other. And the final question is, number 5. What are my top 3 fears about dating again, and how am I praying through them? How am I praying through them? Of course, when you are dating as a single mother, it is normal to come, the feelings of fear to engulf you. It's very normal. So personally, I fear wasting time dating the wrong person. There are people who date for years and years, and yet you realize later that they're the wrong person. I also fear that I may overlook or fail to identify the right person. Another fear is that maybe I may spend a lot of time not dedicating enough time to dating, or allocating, because I'm a busy mother, I'm a working mother. Maybe I'm not allocating enough time for dating. That's also another fear, that you spend decades. Time doesn't wait for any man. So you spend decades, and after years you regret and you say maybe you should have dated more. And maybe you're feeling loneliness at the later years of your life. So that's also another fear. And these questions, I compiled them so that you who's watching can go step by step from number 1 to 5. Ask yourself those questions so that you can demystify the problems that you encounter as you date as a single person. Now, if you have decided not to date, that's also good. I would say I am also the same. I do not date deliberately. It's not something that I search for. However, if God places that desire in my heart, I will not ignore it. I will surely follow those desires of my heart because it is God who gives us those desires. 1 Timothy 5:5 from NIV. The widow who is really in need and left all alone puts her hope in God and continues night and day to pray and to ask God for help. Now, it can be a widow, it can be a single mother, as long as you are alone and you are left alone. Remember, our work is to put our trust in God. 1 Corinthians 7:39 in NIV. A woman is bound to her husband as long as he lives. But if her husband dies, she is free to marry anyone she wishes, but he must belong to the Lord. My dear sisters, widowed or not, as long as you're a single mother, if you want to remarry, he must belong to the Lord. You need to be yoked, together with a believer. Be yoked together with a believer. Don't be unequally yoked with a non-believer. Finally, I will leave you with the words of Psalm 37:4. Psalm 37:4. So God knows our desires and wants what's best for us. He wants what is best for us. It says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. This doesn't mean God is a genie or who grants our every whim, but rather that as we draw closer to him, our desires will align with his, and he will fulfill them in his perfect timing and way. So thank you so much for watching this devotional, specifically designed today for single ladies, single mothers, those who are parenting on their own. Be encouraged that God is with us and he will not forsake us. So I pray that you and your family are whole and well. Let us meet in the next video, God willing.